Hi everyone, so we're going to have a look at task 1 of the alienGame challenge. A computer game character moves around a game area. The game area has dimensions of 500 pixels wide by 300 pixels high. The character can move left, right, up and down, and it can also eat an apple and hit a cactus. When a character is initialized, its x-coordinate is 0, y-coordinate is 150, and its score is 0. So using these ideas, we're going to define the character class. I think that's the task, isn't it? Design the character class. Okay, so let's just get busy with it, and we'll figure it out as we go along. So we're going to define the character class. And we can see that it has a constructor method which initializes x to 0, y to 150, and score to 0. So let's just define our constructor method. I don't think there are any parameters. We're simply saying, and I am going to be using private variables. I'm just going to call it x equals 0. Self._y is also, it's set to 150, and the score is set to 0. I don't think there are any other class variables given the information here. If there are, we'll find them as we continue to design the character class. So that's my constructor method. Now let's deal with these other functions, up, down, left and right. So up, don't think there are any parameters. It just decrements the y coordinate by 1. So if you think about that, guys, what they're saying is, in this kind of game design, the coordinate of the top left corner here is 0, 0. So as we go down the screen, the y-coordinate gets bigger. It goes from 0 all the way to 150. And as we go right across the screen, the x-coordinate gets bigger, all the way, in this case, to 500. Okay, so that's from 0 to 500, and this is from 0, to 300. The height is 300. So this point here is 0, 0. And that's a classic computer game scenario. So up decrements the y-coordinate because we're going up. So the y-coordinate value is getting smaller. So y equals self dot underscore y minus 1. It decrements. If the new value is less than 0, then the y-coordinate becomes 300. So what that is saying is, if the character goes up, 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 and it gets to this top line where y is 0, it sets it to 300. So it will appear at the bottom of the game area. So you go up, up till you reach the top, and then you reappear at the bottom. Another classic game strategy. So let's just include that. If self dot underscore y is less than 0, then self dot underscore y will be assigned a value of 300. So that's my up method. Now let's do the same for down. It increments the y-coordinate by 1. And if the new value is greater than 300, so we've reached the bottom of the screen, we're going to reappear at the top of the screen. Okay, so there's our down method. Now left and right follow similar logic. Left decrements the x. Does that make sense? X is left and right, and if we're going left, the x value is getting smaller. And if we're going right, the x value is getting bigger. if x gets to this 0 point here, it's going to reappear at the 500 mark. So if the character is traveling in this direction and it reaches 0, it will suddenly reappear over here. Okay, so that's the logic that we are working on. So if you understand what's going on, guys, you can skip ahead because I'm just going to quickly deal with these other methods. So let's do left self dot x is equal to self dot. Alright, so private variables. And if self dot underscore underscore x is less than 0, then self dot underscore x will be equal to 500. And let's do right def self dot def right self dot x is equal to self dot x plus 1. And of course, if self dot x is greater than 500, then we're going to reset that to 0. So we've done our up, down, left, and right. Next we've got eat apple. Increments the score by 1 and calls a method eat apple sound, which is obviously a class method. So let's increment the score and let's call the class's eat apple sound method. So we're going to call this class's eat apple sound method, which we haven't defined yet. We'll do that no doubt soon. And what was the other one? Bump cactus. Now if you bump into a cactus, your score will decrement. And we're going to call a method, which is a class method, self dot bump cactus sound. Right, the get score method, get score, get x and get y. Def get score self return self dot underscore def get x is going to return and get y. Return self dot underscore underscore y. Okay, and finally get coordinates. This returns a string displaying the current position of the character. So it tells you the x and it tells you the y as a string. We have to understand at the moment that x and y, these two variables here, are storing integers, but we need to return a string. So let's just have a look at how to do that. Def get coordinates self. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable here called x, and that's going to be equal to the string equivalent of self dot underscore underscore x. So I'm basically converting this variable here to be a string, and I'm just going to do the same with y using Python's string function. So we've converted an integer to a string, Now let's return something. Let's just make another string. Coords equals x with this thing that I've called x. Then we've got a semicolon, and then we've got a y and a colon, and we're going to append this string here. Alright, does that kind of make sense? And then I'm going to return coords. So that is a string version of the data, some of the data that's in this class. So that's my design. Let's create a program very quickly. I'm going to stop in a minute. Let's just write a program. So C equals character. Oh, I tell you what I didn't do, and it's not here, is it? I'm going to have to update this web page. I don't have those two methods, bump cactus sound and eat apple sound. So I'm just going to make those two methods as well. I'm just going to put them in around here. Def, bump, cactus, sound. Now I don't have any sound files, and I'm not even sure how to do that in Python, to be honest. So just so that this program works, I'm going to create a test stub. And my test stub is simply going to print bumped into cactus. And later, when I figure out how to play a sound from Python, I'll replace that line of code with something a bit more meaningful. And the other one was def eat apple sound. And I'm just going to print eat apple sound. And later, yeah, we'll figure out. Or let's just call it eat apple. And we'll put a little exclamation mark at the end, because that's just what I like to do. Okay, so now let's just have a quick look. C equals character. What was the other recommended test? While C dot get x is less than 500. This is just test code, by the way, guys. There's no particular meaning to it. You can write your own program. Let's call the right method, and then let's call c.getCoordinates, which gives us that string, remember. In fact, let's not just do c.getCoordinates. Let's print it, so we can actually see what the heck is going on. Print c.getCoordinates. And then while c.get y is less than 300. We'll move the character down, and we will print c.get coordinates. So we'll call that method there, and let's just maximize this. And can I bring this out? I hope so. And let's run it. Line 30, invalid syntax. Whoa, brilliant. Oh, look at that. So it's moving. You can see that the Y value there is moving. It's moving down the screen because the Y value is getting bigger. And here we've got the X. Look at X. X is moving. It's getting bigger, so it's moving across the screen. So all that worked. Do it if I just have time. I want to test my C.eat apple sound. Just want to test that works as well. Let's run that. And the final thing that we should see at the very bottom should be an apple. Okay, and that's it. That's just task 1, by the way. Good luck with the rest of it.